Oh, hello and welcome to What Are We Talking About with Jamie Jakes. I am him, and we are here to make you guys some money. Paxton, do the money sign. Paxton, do the money sign. Thank you. All right.
That's shadow puppets. We want money sign.
I'm working on it.
We are here to preview every single game from Week 10, starting at Thursday Night Football, going all the way to Monday Night Football. It's an interesting slate, but I honestly love it for gambling. Speaking of which, I do have to publicly apologize to the Baltimore Ravens for doubting them at any moment. That was my best bet from last week, and the Ravens proved me wrong, and kind of the Seahawks also proved me wrong. So here we are. We did have James, speaking of which, is red hot on the podcast. Had a little bit of a down week this past week. How are you feeling, Mr. James?
I'm out of money. I have no more money. No, it was okay. If you're riding with me, you're still up on the year. Sometimes you have bad weeks. Sometimes you have C.J. Stroud.
Sometimes you bet on the Carolina Panthers.
That does happen. Speaking of which, Mr. Miles Francis, how you doing, buddy?
I'm feeling pretty good about my no-brainer pick from last week, so I decided to bring no brain to any of tonight's episode. We're just going to ride it the whole way.
Sounds like we got multiple no-brainer bets coming out of you. Remind us, what was your no-brainer bet from last week, Miles?
Indianapolis over Carolina.
Easy.
-2.5 spread cover.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy there, Miles. And Mr. Paxton, again, coming to us from a open mic in Fort Worth. How are you doing?
I bombed, so I need this to go well.
All right, and our newest guest, who is coming from a different comedy club in Dallas, Comedy Club, Ryan Perio. You can hear some chatter in the background. There's some excitement because they're ready to hear us talk about football. Ryan, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. I didn't bomb, unlike Paxton, but
lucky bitch. Let's
get it going, and I'm going to bring up the sweet gambling bets of the week. This is a podcast half about gambling, half about just setting up the game. What do we got to look forward to? And we got a lot of fun stuff on our way, starting with the Carolina Panthers on Thursday Night Football, playing the Chicago Bears. Justin Fields has already been pronounced out. It will be Badgett that will be playing quarterback for him. The Carolina Panthers have looked really bad. Other than that one time I bet on them to win outright against the Texans a couple of weeks ago, and they're playing on Thursday night. The over-under is very low. The Bears are 3.5 favorites at home, and I think that is exactly right. So that is why I am going to lay off this game, and I'm going to allow Mr. James, who has been great all season, a little bit of a down week last week, but nonetheless, he has been a great gambler for us on this podcast, by far the best gambler through 10 weeks here. What are your thoughts on this game, Mr. James?
Oh, man. Plus money Panthers 3 weeks in a row? I don't think I can do it. I don't like anything about this game. Maybe I'm going to find a player prop to put on because I like to just have something on Thursday Night Football. But not a happy day in the owner's suite this weekend in Carolina. So, all the best. I think Bryce Young has a lot of ways to go, but I think a lot of it is not his problem after watching it. Maybe if he can be in the pocket for more than 1.5 seconds, he'll get better. But no bets for me on this one. I'm out.
Yeah, we will be live streaming this, and that's probably why I'm going to be interested in looking into this game. I have no urge to bet this game whatsoever. Paxton, how do you feel, buddy?
Kind of same thing. I have no urge to bet this game. The closest I would say to anything for a hot take is I'd put a lean on the under. I could definitely see this being like a 15-7 game or something like that. Just something low and out of the ordinary.
God, I sure hope not, because I will be talking during that game for 3 hours. And we can only talk about horror movies so much. Speaking of Miles, what are your thoughts on this game?
Man, as much as I want to bet on a Thursday game, like James said, like just get started with a no-brainer pick, this is just ugly football. I think the best bet of this game is it will be arguably the worst Thursday night football matchup that we've seen this season. I will actually be flying to Chicago tomorrow, so that makes me slightly want to lean the Bears, just because I can be among the people going "Duh, Bears," but like outside of that personal preference, I would avoid watching or betting on this game.
But you are going to watch it live with, or no, you're not. You're
No,
in
no,
Chicago.
I'm not there
You
for
son of a
football.
bitch.
Yeah, I just
You
happen to
son
be
of a
in the
bitch.
city.
Okay,
Totally
well,
I'm not
Ryan
NFL
Perio?
insider James. Sorry, dude.
Ryan Perio, what are your thoughts on this game?
I think 60 Minutes will be a fun watch compared to this. To be honest, like I wouldn't bet it, but if you were, I would go upset just because I think the Panthers will upset in this game. I just think I like Badgett as a clipboard holder, but I don't think he can be like the consistent guy. And I think Bryce Young will do just enough to win. I was a Bryce Young fan when he came out, and so I feel like at some point he's gotta just basically take over, and it hasn't happened. But I don't think the Bears have enough pass rush to really affect him. Montez Sweat could prove me wrong, but
Yeah.
I just don't see. I just see I mean, if you're the Panthers, you're like, why are we going to lose to the team that's getting our draft pick at this point? Why are we just give it? At
Good
some
point.
point, you have to have some kind of pride and say, why are we going to give them the number 1 and possibly number 2 picks in this draft? I just feel like this is a game where Bryce Young kind of stands up, does just barely enough. It's like an ugly, like everybody says, it's not going to be pretty because Thursday night football is rarely a beautiful thing.
This definitely does have not pretty primetime game written all over it. But yeah, good point. This is a draft pick revenge game. So that does give a little bit of extra emotion to the Panthers side of things. Yeah. We are big fans of just betting underdogs on 50-50 games. I just think the Bears are probably, got a little bit over 50% chance of winning this game. That's the only thing that's holding me off of it. Moving on to the Sunday slate. My favorite, a lot of you guys hate these 8:30 a.m. games, but I absolutely love them because I'm usually at work at like 8:15 on Sunday morning. The Colts are going to New England, and they're playing the Patriots. There are legitimate rumors going around town that the head coach of the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, is on the hot seat and could be fired after this game with a loss to Gardner Minshew and the Colts. The Colts are, not a great team. Neither are the Patriots. This is a pretty surprisingly high over-under for me personally. I get both of these teams aren't great on defense, and both of these teams can, sort of move the ball against bad defenses. But 43 seems pretty high to me, but not too high for me to bet on an under for an 8:30 a.m. game. So I'm going to lay off this one as well. I do have a lot of picks for this week, and this one just seems like it's a right number. James, what do you think?
Yeah, I will say one thing about the Panthers game. Lowest bet that you can make on Bovada is 50 cents. So for 50 cents. I think what's super interesting about this game is when we talk about organizations, who's going to travel, who's going to have a better travel schedule. It's a very key factor when it comes to these overseas games coming to Frankfurt, Germany. I think the Patriots are going to do much better. Jim Irsay can't bring his RV overseas with him. That's going to be a problem for him. So I think the Patriots have a good chance in this one. I like the underdog money here. I like Bill Belichick on the hot seat to win it out. Bill's not the type of guy to go out like that. So I like the Patriots money line here.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I would have agreed with that sentiment about Bill Belichick this year if he hadn't already massively disappointed me earlier on in the season, like a hot seat, gotta have it sort of game. Where his team just laid an egg. There's nothing that gets me excited about that Patriots. So what's the travel schedule there, James, for both teams?
I'm not 100% sure on the travel schedule. I haven't gotten the official word on what days they're going out. But if I knew, first off, Patriots are one of the only two teams that have their own personal plane. So that's already a major advantage here. They get to set their own travel schedule. They're traveling in their own plane. So that's huge when it's going international. So that's a huge advantage there alone for the travel. So,
good stuff.
Yeah, highly recommend the Patriots. If we're talking about organizations who are going to travel the best, Patriots are better.
And the Colts are traveling coach, I'm assuming?
They're riding horses.
The QE2 is still doing sailing from America to London.
Oh, Oh, you made me. I didn't realize the plane thing. That's really good. That's really good insight out of you, James. I had no idea. That makes me want to bet the Patriots, but I'm not going to. Paxton, what are you betting?
I'll go ahead and bet on this game, and I'll take the plus 102 money line for the New England Patriots, honestly. I mean, it's one of those where I feel like it's probably going to end up being a safe bet. You're going to win a little bit of money, but, a little bit is better than nothing. And I'm not saying they're figuring it out, but it looks like New England is close to kind of figuring it out, maybe, with all those adjectives in there for a reason. But
close to kind of figuring it out.
I
Close
mean,
to almost being average. They're almost
yeah.
there.
Yeah, you're almost halfway there, basically.
Yeah.
They're figuring out Zeke a little more. He's doing surprisingly decent.
Okay, so that's a bet out of Paxton. Bailey taking the money line on the Patriots. Miles Francis?
I'm not going no-brainer with this one, but I really, really was until James said all that stuff about traveling. The New England Patriots are not a good football team, and I don't know what Paxton sees that they're figuring it out. They're a really terrible football team with a once amazing coach that we all have agreed on this podcast has his best years behind him. Honestly, Jamie, the fact that he might get fired if they lose to me makes me think he might tank it just to get away from this fucking organization. Like maybe he'll go to Miami, take a chill assistant role, spend most of his time on the beach, collect a paycheck. Just let Achan come back here in a couple weeks and just win him another title. He'll put another ring from another team on his finger. No, I do lean Indianapolis on this one. Not enough to strongly recommend it because of the whole travel to Germany thing.
Brilliant. And Ryan Perio?
I really like the Colts in this because I think the Colts have a superior run game with Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor just being a two-headed monster. So I see the Colts winning this one. I think Mac Jones just makes too many boneheaded decisions this late in his career. I feel like he's on his way out of New England. I've just seen so many catastrophic turnovers from him, just pick sixes and things that you shouldn't have, regardless of your coaching situation, your third year in the league.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. The only thing, because I did consider the Colts rushing offense, but the one thing the Patriots are doing well this year is stopping the run. So that was the only thing holding me off of it. But brilliant, really liking the Colts. It sounds like a first recommendation out of our new guest, Ryan. Colts minus 1.5. Next up on the slate, the Cleveland Football Browns are going into the red hot number one team in the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens again are -6. They are 6-point favorites at home. They just absolutely kicked the shit out of the Seahawks, which was massively surprising to me. Deshaun came back. Deshaun looked horrible in a half and then pretty damn good in a half, if I'm honest, against a horrible Cardinals team. A lot of people cashing receipts already on Twitter as to Deshaun being all the way back all of a sudden. I'm not entirely buying that, but I do believe this Browns defense with a slightly better offense that's going to at least help with the field position battle in this game. I think the Browns will, keep it around that 6-point range. So that's why I'm kind of off of it. Again, a low over-under. If I had to lean any direction for this game, I would lean the over 38 because I think both offenses kind of operate a little bit, even though this is like the first and best defense in the league, ironically. I think over 38, especially after we saw what this Baltimore Ravens defense already did to this Browns team at Cleveland. I'm entirely off of it, or I have a lean to the over, but other than that, I'm entirely off of the side here. I think the number's right about correct. James, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I don't have a bet on this game, but my lean would be the team total for the Ravens over 21.5. I just don't know what I'm going to see out of the Browns, but I do feel Ravens defense is fantastic. Running game is fantastic. I think it's more than likely they get 3 touchdowns in the first half, and then you somehow have to get them to get 2 points. I think they can find a way to do that with possibly a safety. So I think that team total is approaching to the point where I would buy it. The only thing stopping me is it's -120. I don't like that as much, but if I can get over 22, an alternate team total, I might take that.
Hell yeah. Paxton Bailey?
With how powerful these two defenses are, I really want to go the under, but I just know not to. I feel like you were saying, Jamie, this
Yeah.
would be one leaning towards the over, despite having two high, powerful, high caliber offenses. Uh, I'm not gonna have a bet on this one because I don't know how this one's gonna turn out. Really, I'm curious to watch this game.
Yeah, I think it is going to be the best game of the week in terms of just like interesting storylines. Like, are the Baltimore Ravens for the real? Are the Browns like feisty with Deshaun? A lot of narratives are going to be painted based off of this game, and I think I want to try and live stream this one if I'm going to live stream any Sunday game. Just a thought there. Speaking of thoughts, Ryan Perio, what are your thoughts?
I can't bet this game just because Lamar against an elite defense has always been such a tricky call because you always wait for him to have that just watershed moment of his career where he just kind of overcomes and it just doesn't happen. Like he just has like that one it happens in the playoffs, it happens in regular season. He just has that when he gets against an elite pass rushing defense, he just swing turnovers and it could just to me this game could go either way. Like I've just seen that, and with the Browns kind of trying to figure out their run game post Nick Chubb I don't see the Ravens being this lighted up offense yet. I see them have an elite running game against Seattle, but I don't think the Browns will let them have that.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is going to be just a fascinating matchup. I'm really, really excited to see it, but I'm not excited to bet it for that exact reason. Moving on to the Houston Texans playing at Cincinnati against the Bengals. The Bengals are red hot. They're a great football team, and this number is kind of reflecting that. They are 6.5-point favorites against a little bit better Texans team than we maybe saw in the first couple weeks of the season. CJ Stroud just broke a rookie passing record, which, the NFL has been around for a long time. If you're breaking an NFL record, that's a pretty damn good sign with a massive game. Granted, the Buccaneers defense did help them out a lot. Cincinnati Bengals offense, or the Cincinnati Bengals defense, has also improved magically along with Joe Burrow. I don't really understand how that works. But yeah, I'm also not betting on this game. I think that line's right. I think the Bengals win by 6 or 7 points. I think it's a rather high-scoring affair. James, what do you think?
Yeah, after seeing what C.J. Stroud did last week for the Buccaneers, I think it has the potential of being a shootout. The Bengals were dragging the Bills through Sunday night. So maybe an over is a fun one on this one. If you're getting it on your local broadcast, this one could be a fun one. Yeah, the over bet. No official bet for me on this.
Paxton Bailey?
I want to make this a fun podcast, but I can't bet on this one either.
We got more coming. Don't worry, buddy.
Yeah. I don't want to agree with everyone like the last episode, but this one's just a tough one, and that number is just sitting pretty.
I haven't recommended a bet yet. We're about to get rolling here. Don't you worry. It's just, we're going through every fucking game because that's what we do on this podcast. That's why we get dozens of views every week. Miles Francis?
CJ Stroud's legit. He showed it this week, but I do agree that a lot of that was just Tampa Bay has a very bad defense. I like the Bengals on this one. 6.5 is a lot, a whole touchdown. I mean, but I do lean Cincinnati will cover that 7 points. But I think the over is also probably I'd probably recommend the over 47 before I'd recommend the Bengals to cover 6.5.
Yeah, that Buccaneers defense, passing especially, was super disappointing. Like, obviously they can still stop the run, but jeepers, creepers. And just schematically on that last drive, they were acting like there was 15 seconds left on the clock. There was like 50 seconds left on the clock, and they just gave them 3 giant chunk plays back to back to back. And then CJ Stroud, finishes them off with 2 great passes. But yeah, what a total disaster out of that Buccaneers.
It was weird to watch because it was fun, but because it just felt like watching like a team just, I don't know, fall. It was like watching a mountain climber get almost to the peak and then just like slowly tumble all the way back down.
Yeah, as someone who had Buccaneers money line recommended on this podcast, I felt pretty good after that Baker Mayfield touchdown. And then
yeah, I bet you did.
Immediately got my heart ripped out. Like, is this actually happening? Am I actually seeing this? Anyways, Ryan, what are your thoughts on the game?
Well, I'm a Houston Texans fan. Miles knows this because we work together on football. And I was extremely psyched for the game, but there's so many injuries to the Texans right now. If you look at their injury report that they released today, it is massive. Like it is almost every starter on any position did not practice today. So I would pick the Bengals probably to cover, because I just think that the Texans defense is a bend but don't break, but I feel like this is one of those games where Cincinnati could just really just score in bunches, because the Mike Evans basically torched them. So T. Higgins in that role just immediately to me just gives me nightmares as a Texans fan of how are we going to cover this guy if Mike Evans just basically walked past us for a touchdown at one point.
Yeah. And Jamar Chase did not practice today. He is.
I think
on the
Jamar's
injury
questionable
report
at this point.
Yeah. So that thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate you bringing that up, Ryan Perry. Moving on to the 12 o'clock game. The San Francisco 49ers are playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. What have the San Francisco 49ers proven that they cannot beat? A good football team, right? Are the Jags a good football team? I believe so. Is Trevor Lawrence a good quarterback? I believe so. Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, yeah, I'll take him. ETN, the biggest surprise to me in terms of fantasy football. ETN, I thought he was not going to have a great season. I thought it was going to be Tank Bigsby season. It is not. ETN is ripping it up. And the Jags defense seems like they're playing better each week, and that's really been the difference in this football team. Trent Williams, I still think, is not going to play. Sounds like Debo's coming back, but I think the big reason is not Debo. It's not losing Debo. It's losing Trent Williams. And, with the San Francisco 49ers, they're a fragile team to begin with. So who says Debo doesn't go down again in the first quarter? I don't have any confidence in him adding any value to the Niners. So for that reason, I'm going to bet half a unit on Jags +3, and I'm going to bet half a unit at Jags +142. Give me that money line, because they're at home. They're in Jacksonville. Their fan base is excited. They won a playoff game last year. So why wouldn't I bet on the Jags right now? James, what do you think?
I'm all with you here. I think this is a great spot. I think the Jaguars should be +120. I think the number's wrong. I like +145 to 140. I agree with everything that you said. I think it's a great value worth taking this weekend.
Hell yeah. And Paxton Bailey?
I was going to say the same thing you said, Jamie, based off of Trent Williams. That line is not the same thing. And when he's not there, Brock Purdy just looks like a little boy. So I'm going to take a full unit on the money line. And if you want to bet more money, I'd take a full unit on the +3 as well.
Okay. So that's a double bet. So that's a triple on the Jags when we all agree on something. Never a good sign on this podcast. Miles.
It's a good thing I don't agree. My boy Christian McCaffrey is back from a rest. He is going to murder Jacksonville. He doesn't even need 10 other players on the field. He could walk out there, take the ball, do it himself. I think that the 49ers are easily going to cover this 3-point spread.
Okay, so that's a crossfire shooting across the bow. Miles, Ryan, what do you think?
I agree with you, Paxton, and you, Jamie, and I forgot the other guy name with Jared Allen jersey on. James. I agree with all you guys. I think this is one of those games where, again, Brock Purdy kind of shows his warts, where if it's not set up perfectly for him to succeed, he's not going to. He's not one of those guys that can take a team to a victory. He's got to have the team around him to get there. I think with a week, they just had their bye week. I think everybody's rested in Jacksonville. I think this is a game where you've had 2 weeks to prepare. I think the Jaguars take this in an upset, basically, and I guess what you would call upsets as far as the talking heads, but I think Jacksonville is going to take this game.
Yeah, so Ryan is lockstep with us. Miles Francis alone on an island, a lone
Not
wolf.
my first time. It won't be my last, gentlemen.
Not his first time, a real free thinker. And honestly, that makes me feel a lot less good about this bet that Miles is. Because, Christian McCaffrey is still Christian McCaffrey. But anyways, I can't wait to see how that game ends up with how many bets we have on it. Speaking of which, the New Orleans Saints are going into Minnesota, led by Josh Dobbs. Justin Jefferson recently released into his 21-day window to return from the IR. It was a hamstring injury. Didn't sound super serious. Didn't look super serious at the time. It was kind of a shock to see him go to IR following that hamstring injury, which felt more like a tweak in the game. I think we have a free roll here on the Minnesota Vikings because I think if Justin Jefferson is back with Josh Dobbs and this Vikings defense, I think the line flips all the way over to the Saints. So for that reason, I'm going to take the home favorite. Again, half unit on the 2.5, half unit on the money line, 114 for the Minnesota Vikings. My second bet, and we're just getting heated up here on the podcast. James, what do you think about?
Oh man, Vikings really helping me not have a completely crap week last week, but I don't know, if Joshua Dobbs has. Oh, sorry. Coming down from my ceiling. Oh, it's from NASA.
Oh,
that's weird. It says an athlete and a scholar is Joshua Dobbs. No hair does he have from his head to his. Oh, I can't say that. He racked up stats without knowing the plays. He'll beat the Saints this upcoming Sunday. I'm going with the Vikings. The script says it. NASA sent it to me. We've got to go Vikings again. This team actually has time to practice with Joshua Dobbs this week. Are you kidding me? This guy's amazing. Let's keep rolling with Joshua Dobbs. Let's keep making money with him. I think this is a no-brainer bet.
Wow. Oh. Andy thinks it's a no-brainer. A script writer. I didn't realize that NASA was able to write scripts for the NFL. And of course, why wouldn't they? The massive propaganda unit that NASA is. The Pastronaut, Josh Dobbs, the script writer, bet of the week. And I couldn't be more excited. Paxton, how are you feeling about it?
Really hot lady just walked past my car, so I feel a lot better now. But I'm actually...
Your mom's there? Say hi for me.
Shut up. My mom's a pretty lady. Good job, Wendy. No, I honestly, just because I want to go against NASA on this one, I want to take the Saints. I've got a weird love for the New Orleans Saints, and I think this is finally their time to come back against the Minneapolis Miracle. I actually, despite the Wildcat formation, I normally hate it, but I just have such a love for Taysom Hill, mostly because he is a lot of my fantasy team's tight end. Thank you, Sleeper.
Best ball this year.
Yeah, he's fucking awesome. So I'm gonna go with the Saints this week, and I'll take, what is that, minus
135.
really...
You're not allowed to. You can take minus 2.5 though.
Yeah, I'll take the minus 2.5. I can't see those numbers.
Brilliant. So that is Crossfire shooting across the bow from Flat Earther Paxton Bailey. Miles Francis, what do you think?
I feel like James had the script that said I was going to call this a no-brainer for all the reasons both of you guys said, man. Minnesota this week gets a week of practice instead of having to learn the cadence from the sideline. That feels dangerous. They still have a lot of threats out there. Dobbs, I think, has proven to be a pretty good quarterback that was caught in a, pretty bad setup. At least he's got a lot of hype around him going into this game. And Jamie, I think you're right. I think that enough people will probably bet on this, that as we get closer to crunch time, they will probably flip this around, and it will not be that 2.5 positive money line. So money line for Minnesota on this one.
Yeah, no guarantee that Justin Jefferson does indeed come back. I'm just saying there's probably like a 65 to 70% chance that
they still have Addison, dude.
Yeah, and they still do have Addison. So in my opinion, Justin Jefferson adds a couple points of value by himself if he is healthy and ready to go. And even if he's not, I still like the Vikings in this bet. So yeah, I'm glad that we're all on lockstep. Ryan, what do you think?
I can't bet this game. These teams are both so wildly just so Jekyll and Hyde from week to week. I just can't. Either both of these teams have just had, both have had outlandish victories and also like wild losses. I just can't. Like the New Orleans Saints against the Packers, it's like they basically just laid down for a fourth quarter and let Green Bay come all the way back and give Jordan Love another week of employment.
So Ryan not on this game. Moving on to Green Bay at the Steelers in Pittsburgh. The Steelers are 3-point favorites at home. The Packers looked good, sort of, if you just looked at the scoreboard. If you actually watched the game, Aaron Jones was back, and even with him being back all the way, wasn't super exciting. Jordan Love has been an absolute disaster outside of, I think, like week 1, week 2. He looked all right this season. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense is hyper formidable. I don't see how this game stays anywhere close. I think Pickett to Pickens is going to happen in this game. It only takes 1 or 2 passes for them to score 14 points between those two for the Steelers. So for that reason, I'm taking, I think, the Steelers to cover a spread for maybe the first time in my life. I've never bet on the Steelers, but I love them in this spot. I'm taking the Steelers -3. James, what are you taking?
Did you forget that Matt Canada is still employed by the Pittsburgh Steelers?
He's on the sidelines now. Everything is fixed. Everything is solved.
I don't have a bet on this one. I think under 39, the combination of Jordan Love and Matt Canada both running the offense against each other, I think will be a fantastic way for people to never score points. And as somebody who has Pickens on their fantasy football team, I can tell you that is a roller coaster of emotions for the only wide receiver in the NFL who cannot toe tap. Thanks a lot, George. Under 39 would be my only lean on this one.
Yeah, that was a wild play. Seeing all the NFL players that get both feet in bounds and how easy they make it look, and how just like he looked like he glitched, like he got the wrong animation in Madden. So like even though that's what it looked like to me. It was like a glitch in the Matrix where he just like got the wrong animation and stepped out of bounds. That was crazy. But yeah, Paxton Bailey.
I'm going to agree with you, Jamie, again, and go with covering the Steelers. Not only is their defense stellar and the Packers are bad, but Pickens is an emotional roller coaster, but they also have Deontay back, and he looked great last week.
True.
And Najee's starting to figure it out, and not Snell. What's his name? Jalen Warren looks really good, too. So I think Steelers could pull this one off pretty easily.
Okay, so Paxton agrees with me. Miles Francis?
Talking about Jordan Love, I feel like that quarterback has a really unique a way about him where he always seems to stumble, but in a positive direction. Like he'll have a terrible game, but he'll somehow scramble 21 fantasy points. He'll on 7 interceptions. Like it's wild.
Like Tomlin.
But last week we got to see him barely succeed against a really terrible defense. Pittsburgh are the opposite of that. I agree. I think they're going to easily cover the -3. But because I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are just such a better football team, but Jordan Love will inherently get lucky at some point, that over 39 bet looks really good. So I'm recommending both Steelers covering 3 and over 39.
Yeah, I love it. It's a little bit sketchy when you bet an under and take the minus points, because it really shoves you into a weird situation where you got to have a couple of things go right. But yeah, for this.
Luckily for me, I don't think about these things. You could say.
Oh wait, no, you
no-brainer. I did say the over.
So I'm fucked up. No. You don't even. You're not even wrong. I'm messed up. You took the over and the Steelers. So that
yes, over 30, over 39, and Pittsburgh -3.
Brilliant. And then Ryan.
I'm taking the Steelers as well. They have such an elite pass rush with Alonzo Highsmith and TJ Watt on the other side. Like, I just don't see how Jordan Love, even with his luck, is going to, once he gets flustered, there's going to be turnovers galore in this game. I just feel like once he gets uncomfortable, and with 2 people coming off the edge, that makes every quarterback uncomfortable.
Yeah,
so give me the Steelers.
I agree that the Steelers defense is the real reason I'm taking this. Not because of Matt Canada, James, but thank you for pointing that out.
The fighting Kenny Pickett's.
It's Matt America now that he's on the sideline. So it's like I said, the Steelers are all the way back, and I am betting on them for the first time in I think my gambling career, which has been like 6 years. So here we are. To the last game of the 12 o'clock slot, The Tennessee Titans are playing Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It will be Will Levis. Ryan Tannehill is a healthy backup to Will Levis here now. This Titans team, talk about up and down. That's exactly what they've been. Derrick Henry is coming on strong, but what are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers good at doing? That's stopping the run. Definitely not the best run stopping team the Titans have faced this year. But when they do face a good run stopping team, they struggle greatly. I would expect the rookie to struggle without a dominant run game in Derrick Henry. Tajay Spears. Baker Mayfield has been pretty damn good over there. Mike Evans has been pretty damn good over there. Like I said, that defense can stop the run. Not so good at stopping the pass. I am not going to bet on this game. I am going to put the Tampa Bay Buccaneers +1 into a tasty little teaser that I will reveal later in the episode. James, what's your thoughts on this game?
Wowza. I'm excited for this teaser. The only reason why I feel like the Titans are even at this point with -110 both ways is simply because they have the Thursday night game and have the extra rest. I don't think they're a very good team. While the Buccaneers may not have somebody as good as Levi Wallace in their secondary, like the Steelers did, Will Levis looked like absolute dog shit throwing the ball on that last drive on Thursday night. And I feel like Tampa just has a good enough offense to take this away. So I'm taking Tampa Bay -110 if Jamie will allow me to.
Tampa Bay -110, absolutely. You can do that instead of taking the point and -115. Yeah, I'll ride with you there. I'm going to change my pick to the money line -110 as well. Good spot out of you, Mr. James. Always finding the best number. And that's what you got to do, kids. You got to find the best number, know your math. Paxton, what do you think?
I think this is going to be a really fun game to watch because I'm interested to see if Levis will come back at all or if this was just a very short 5 minutes of fame for him in that first game back. I don't want to bet on it, but like I was saying, I think this is going to be a good game overall to watch.
Absolutely. And Miles Francis?
I am with you guys on the Tampa Bay money line, but I also really like the over on this game, 38.5 with two teams that have explosive offenses and no defenses. I feel like 40 points is well within the threshold of that game. So I'm recommending the over 38.5.
You know what, Miles, and I really, really like that too. I don't trust in this Tennessee secondary. Why would I? I do trust in Baker Mayfield figuring things out. And yeah, I mean, Will Levis, it goes one of two ways, right? I don't think they're gonna be able to run the ball on the Bucs. They're gonna have to pass the ball, and through that, you're gonna get one or two things, right? You're gonna get Will Levis throwing some bombs down the field, or you're gonna get Will Levis throwing some interceptions, and both are good.
How'd that bet go for you last time, Jamie?
Oh yeah, exactly. Will Levis has not been throwing many picks so far in the season. Yeah, Will Levis has been really, really good. Ryan Perio, what do you think?
It hurts my heart when they had the Oiler uniforms on a couple weeks ago when Will Levis made his debut. So I'm a Houston fan, so it kind of hurts to see my old team colors. I think I'm picking Tampa Bay in this. I think after they just got pantsed by the Texans, I think they're going to really step down and refocus and really shut down the Titans. I think they're going to scheme against Will Levis. I think he's going to have to hold the ball a lot longer. He's going to have to make some really tough decisions, and I think it's going to lead to some INTs.
So that is a bounce back game out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I kind of agree with that. Like that was a bit of an anomaly, a bit of a schematic fuck up with the massive collapse at the end with the Buccaneers defense. So yeah, that's a good point. Maybe they do bounce back, and that's I like them, but I'm just going to do a teaser, a teaser. That's gonna be my new gimmick on the podcast. Is I'm just teasing teasers here, and that's what I'm gonna do with the Buccaneers. Moving on to the 3:00 slate, the Detroit Lions are going into LA and playing the Chargers. The Chargers coming off of a incredibly unimpressive win.
Unimpressive blowout, really.
Yeah, in New York, I think they only had like one offensive touchdown. I think they had a pick six there that really widened it. They also had like two lucky fumble
Opening kickoff. They returned a touchdown.
opening kickoff. Yeah, return for
It
a
was
touchdown.
the first punt, but yeah.
Punt. Yes, thank you,
My
Paxton,
mistake, yeah.
for correcting us. Well said. Dan Campbell in his career as a head coach is plus 60% against the spread blind. That means you get barred from every single casino in the nation if you're hitting at that rate, right, James? Am I exaggerating?
Not casinos, but your local bookie will definitely kick you out.
If you beat a casino for long enough, for a few years at a 60% rate, they will eventually bar you. Anyways, maybe a little bit of hyperbole out of my part, but Dan Campbell against the spread has been incredible. And so have the Detroit Lions. So that's why I'm just going to go ahead and take the Detroit Lions -3 as the money plane flies overhead. James, what are your thoughts on this game?
Money Plane, great movie, must watch. I would say with Kelsey Grammer, classic. I will add on to the casinos there. I will say a lot of sports books, the way they're trending now with William Hill and MGM, they probably would kick you out. Shout out to Circa, one of the good bookmakers out there that likes taking winners out. So,
Hell yeah.
this is a very interesting game for me because I bet this game very early on this week, and I was able to get the Detroit Lions at -130. And they are already up to -160, -165. That is a fabulous swing, to be honest. So I'm very happy that I bet that. That being said, I don't think I'm allowed to take a -150 on.
You're not.
So I will roll with the -3, but I will put in that caveat that I got a very, very good number earlier at -.
Okay. So follow James, Insider James, on Twitter, and he'll be posting his lines early or whatever. Yeah, well done. Well done with your good value bet. Hasn't cashed yet, but I agree with you, so I can't talk too much shit. Paxton Bailey, what do you think?
On this one, this is going to be a very high-scoring game. Chargers can score early, but they don't score late, and Detroit just scores all the time and mostly late in the game. So I'd say take the over at the -110 for this game.
That is a massive over 48.5, but yeah, I think it will be a high-scoring game. I mean, assuming the Chargers can move the ball on the Lions defense, which I'm not convinced. Lions, David Montgomery is also going to be back in this game. Lions are getting healthier as well at the left tackle position. Yeah, I just love the Lions all the way up and down each direction. Ryan, what do you think?
I think it's the Lions. They've got the total package. I feel like Chargers. He's just taken a step back in his development. Like this year, it just seems like he's just held the ball a little too long. He did so in the New York game. He did so in the Dallas game. He's just holding the ball forever. It doesn't feel like he trusts an intermediate weapon like Gerald Everett or, only Keenan Allen when it's like crucial game on the line situations.
Yeah.
And so I would take the Detroit, and I'd also say it's also going to be a high-scoring affair. The Chargers will put up points, but I just think the Lions defense will do just enough to win this game.
Brilliant. I love that Ryan has agreed with us a couple of times, but for different reasons. So that's encouraging for me that we are kind of on the same page, but for different reasons so far. Moving on to the three.
I don't want to miss out on this. I just want to make sure that I'm on the right side of history because it's going to be the Lions.
Oh, wait, did I skip you, Miles?
You did, but it's okay. I have nothing more to add. Ryan nailed it.
Miles Francis taking the Lions as well. Falcons and the Cardinals. The Cardinals are 1.5-point underdogs at home. I think Kyler's playing, you guys. I really do. I think he's off the injury report. He's been in full practice for like 3 weeks. They tried the rookie out last week. They moved the ball 55 yards on the Cleveland Browns all game. That's not even like in a quarter. That's the whole damn game. The Falcons are in a lot of turmoil as well with Arthur Smith shaving his mustache. This is a mustache shaving game. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, so I'm just going to sit back and watch it. I'm not going to recommend this game whatsoever. Mr. James, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so very interesting things to talk about here. First off, Hollywood Brown in his interview today said that Kyler Murray was playing. So I am on the Kyler Murray is playing. However, Call of Duty is releasing this week. And there is early access available. So that makes it very, very tough. And then on the other side, we have Arthur Smith, whose dad is worth $6 billion. So I think that perhaps we might be finding out that Arthur Smith might have got this job just because his dad donated a lot of money to Arthur Blank. And this is like a rich person's version of Make-A-Wish with him being an NFL head coach. He's atrociously bad at using his weapon.
Yeah.
I am also hopping on a teaser train. I'm going to call this the degenerate teaser for you. And I'm going to have the Cardinals 1.5 teased within it. That will also be revealed.
Okay, so that's a teaser right there. You're going to tease the Falcons through 0, though?
No, I'm teasing the Cardinals side.
Okay, I was going to say, you're not allowed to do that. Anyways, Paxton Bailey, what are your thoughts?
This is going to be a game I stay away from because it's just going to be another toilet bowl, it looks like. Even with Kyler Murray coming back, I don't think he's going to be the same. I didn't even think he was all that good when he first started. It's just a whole lot of running and making plays happen.
I hate when
the
quarterbacks do that.
Falcons, exactly. The Falcons aren't at home either, and they've just got a long-standing statistic that if they're at home, there's a good chance they're going to win. So they're away. So I'm just going to stay away from this game entirely.
Brilliant. Miles Francis.
I think even if Kyler is back, which I do think he will be, they're still without a solid running back, without James Conner. Kyler, as James pointed out, has probably been playing more Call of Duty than he has been football for sure for the last few months. I think even if he's back, he's not back at his full form. I think the Atlanta Falcons have this, maybe the last week we can call the Arizona Cardinals an easy win. But I feel right now, like with the exception of that fluke of a Cowboys game, which I think we can all say is more the Cowboys' fault than Arizona's well-doing. This has just been a bad football team. I don't think the return of one key player, their first week back from a very lengthy time away with injury, is going to be enough to get them back on track. So maybe Atlanta gets the last easy win, but they're definitely going to take the win on this one. I would say as much as I can, no-brainer Atlanta Falcons.
No-brainer recommendation on Miles Francis. That's a gimmick bet. Ryan Perio, what are your thoughts?
I believe that the Arizona front office is probably going to point at a picture of Marvin Harrison Jr. and say, lose good, win bad. And because there's no reason for them to win this game. I think it's Atlanta's game. I think if you're a fantasy football owner, Bijan Robinson, this is going to be his signature game for the year. I think Arizona's run defense is suspect, and I just think that Bijan Robinson's going to be heavily used. I think Drake London's ruled out. Or at least he's on the injury report. So I figure a big game from him.
As of this morning, he was still out, yeah.
So I would stay away from it. If you want to bet this game, then maybe you have a gambling addiction. But
well, don't alienate most of our audience.
But if you are going to bet some, I would take the Falcons. I think the Falcons are just not as bad as the Cardinals are.
Yeah,
and that's how they win.
Sure, and then take a peek at the over for total yards for Bijan or something like that, because he catches it through the air too. Yeah, I think he could have a big game. Moving on to the 3:30 game, the New York Giants are going into the Cowboys Stadium, and it's week 10, y'all. They are 16.5 point underdogs. The Cowboys are. The Giants are going to have Mr. DeVito throwing the ball for him, who honestly hasn't looked that bad. Saquon's healthy. They can really ride him and keep this game close, I think. The Cowboys, this feels like, maybe they need a dominant performance if they want to prove themselves after coming off of a loss to the Eagles. but I don't think that's the Cowboys' way. I think the Cowboys kind of, maybe make this thing a little bit more interesting than it probably should be. And that is why I am going to take that Giants plus 16.5, and I'm going to tease it up plus 24.5, and I'm going to pair it with Baker Mayfield, who's clutch as fuck. He's always going to keep it close. Like, if you need a last-second scorer for Baker Mayfield to cover the spread, you're probably going to get it with Mike Evans. And I just think the Buccaneers have a chance to win that game outright. So that is my tasty teaser of the week. Bucks plus 7, Giants plus 24.5. But wait, there's more. I have an added bet. I am going to throw on top of those two a all-in bet for a lot of money.
I didn't even know scrolling back was an option. This is wild.
We don't look back a lot on this podcast, but we do when we have a tasty Wong teaser. 2.5 all the way up to 8.5 through a lot of key numbers. Those numbers are very, very key. I'm going to take the Vikings on top of that, Bucks plus 7 and Giants plus 24.5 against the Cowboys in Dallas. What do you think, Mr. James?
Wow. Wow. I knew that's where you were going with it. The second you said the tease is coming in later, I was like, it's got to be that 16.5 number, because there's no way any team in the NFL shouldn't cover 24.5. I am, unfortunately, thanks to the NFL TV map, going to have to watch this game. I don't want to, but that is the tough part of living in Dallas, is you always have to watch the Cowboys. I am so tempted with this money line at plus. I can't even. 750. I can't even. It's so massively large for no reason, besides the fact that the Giants are dog shit. Oh man, fuck it. Plus 750. Throw it on the board.
That's a plus 750 recommendation on the podcast. Let's go.
That's great.
It would be the most Cowboys thing for them to lose this game. And
they lost to the Cardinals. It's not out of the question. I mean,
it's not crazy. It's not the worst ever.
Yeah. Paxton Bailey?
Yeah, James kind of just hit my worst fear on the head, as I think this is just a huge trap game waiting to happen. For most of my life, I was a Cowboys fan, so that you also just know that you're going to lose to the Giants at least once a season. However, that being said, even though I don't think the Giants are going to win, I also don't think they're going to score a touchdown, and I'm still going to take the over on this game.
Taking the over 38.5. Brilliant.
Max has really liked those overs tonight, which I'm not mad about it. There's been a lot of good
lots of defensive injuries.
That's fair. That's fair. When I saw this matchup, I was like, oh, this is going to be my no-brainer of the week, regardless of what the spread is. And then I saw 16.5, and I was like, Jesus Christ. I think that is the record for the season. That is the largest spread that we've seen on this podcast, at least. I've said many times the Cowboys are just so untrustworthy. I'm kind of almost borderline with James for that reason. Small amount of money on the Giants just in case, but I'm just going to stay away from this game. I just think it's the Cowboys' opportunity to fuck it up. But 16.5 is just too much for any team to try to overcome.
Yeah. And Ryan?
I wouldn't bet it, but I do think the Cowboys would cover that. I think that they are going to demolish this team. I think after last week's loss in Philly, they are going to absolutely decimate this team. They're licking their chops looking at this schedule. Micah Parsons and all that defense is looking at this offense. And I think Daniel Jones knew what was coming, and he just faked that injury just so he could not have to face them again. After that first week, you just saw the look on the face of a man, maybe I shouldn't have signed that contract. Like, you could just see the look in his face. Like, this season has just been like, wow, this is what the NFL is like. Like, he just had no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe the Cowboys are going to take this team to the woodshed this week, especially at home.
Yeah, your team's got to be pretty bad for you to second guess 40 million a year. Jesus Christ. Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, that's not been looking very fun for Daniel Jones in New York this year. Almost done. Last 3 games here. Moving on to Washington Commanders facing the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks coming off of an embarrassing defeat to the Baltimore Ravens. The Washington Commanders have not looked great this whole season. The Seahawks are 6-point favorites at home, which I think is spot on. I am laying off of this game. James, what do you think?
Yeah, I had a lot of faith in Seattle, and they almost put up no points.
Yeah.
I've been in love with Kenneth Walker this season, but that last week was kind of lame for me as a fantasy manager. I don't like anything on this. Maybe Kenneth Walker over on yardage simply because Washington Commanders have traded everybody on their defensive line except for Jonathan Allen. So if there's a time for him to go off, it's probably this game.
Yeah. Paxton Bailey.
So I kind of want to pull a much smaller James here, and just because I see 250 plus 250 on the money line, I kind of want to put that, but it's just going to be a lean. I don't want to throw anything on this game. This is going to be a weird game, I think.
Yeah, I don't want to overreact to last week, so I don't want to bet against the Seahawks here. Miles Francis.
Guys, the Seahawks lost miserably to one of the best teams in the league this last week, right?
Probably the best team.
Yeah. Okay. I've said all season long, the Washington Commanders suck. This is a no-brainer. They're going to win by a touchdown easy. Seattle Seahawks, go.
That's a gimmick bet out of Miles Francis. The Seattle Seahawks -6, no-brainer. Third no-brainer. Fourth no-brainer? Third no-brainer of the week. Ryan, what are your thoughts?
I can't bet on this game because these two teams are just built so similar. Like, it's just, defensive-minded with a quarterback that kind of can wow you at times, but then other times wow you with the lackluster play that they have. I couldn't bet on this. I think the Seahawks will win, but I couldn't put any money down because Sam Howell 1 week can put up 4 touchdowns, and the next week he can put up 8 interceptions. It's just there's him and Geno Smith both are just such wild cards. It's every week they have a good touchdown game, and then it's turnovers galore or just no offensive cohesion or any kind of sustainable drives. So I would stay away from this one personally.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think they are going to go ahead and win this game by about 6. So that's why I'm off of it too. Moving into Sunday night, the New York Jets. All right, are facing the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders just had, I guess the worst head coach of all time fired. They were smoking cigars with a losing record in their brand new locker room in their brand new stadium after beating not a great football team. They're just excited to have that prick out of town. Apparently, that must have been horrible in that locker room, I guess. But the Raiders. There's no real reason that they should have been as shitty as they are. They have Max Crosby still. They have, an all right offense with Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams. O'Connell's coming along himself. I would lean the Jets here, honestly, just because I'm expecting the Raiders to have a little bit of a emotional let go after getting the monkey off their back, winning after their head coach just got fired. But not enough for me to actually want to bet on Zach Wilson with an offense that hasn't scored, a drive that started in their own half this whole season. It's been a long season. There's 9 games, 9 weeks in. So I don't want to bet the Jets for that reason. I'm going to lay off of it. James, what do you think?
Favorite story for the Josh McDaniels firing was the fact that the day before somebody was talking shit about the Patriots, and he said, "Hey, we don't talk shit about the Patriots around here." I thought that was a very interesting story. I have this game as completely a coin flip, and when this line released, the Raiders were at +110.
Okay.
So I picked that up then because I did go with the coin flip. As of now, maybe the +1, but I think it's a total coin flip game. See who wins.
Yeah, if you shop that number around, we're for the record, we're recording. It's Wednesday night. If you shop that number around, I'm sure you can find a plus 105 or a plus 108 around town somewhere.
Even
So
plus 101, anything if it's 50-50.
Okay, I'm positive you can find a plus 101 out there. So I'm going to allow you to make that official recommendation, James. Congratulations. Paxton Bailey.
I'm going to lay off this one as well, but I also think that if anything, I'm going to lean towards the Jets because I feel like they've just got a little bit more in weapons. Like their defense is better. The Raiders, like you said, also getting that monkey off their back about losing for so long and being so ass. I feel like this is just going to be a very boring game to watch, but Zach Wilson's going to pull it off.
Miles Francis.
This game is weird to me because I feel like it's literally the Las Vegas Raiders against the New York Jets defense. Like, can the defense outscore the Raiders, which should be a no-brainer that it's an absolute. But the Raiders have been so bad this year. I'm officially not touching this game at all, but I do have a lot of interest in this game because I think it's a real test if the Las Vegas Raiders do come out there and just stomp the Jets. Which they arguably should, just looking at the numbers on paper. If they pull it off, it could be a true sign of an actual chance at a turnaround this season.
Yeah, and they do have that rookie quarterback starting there, O'Connell in Vegas. So, maybe he shines against a good defense. Maybe he doesn't. Ryan, what do you think?
Well, if you like Chris Collinsworth talking, this is the game for you. Because you're going to hear a lot of that between nothing else happening on this game. I can't bet this game again because both of these teams are basically not what they thought they were going to be when this season started. I think the Jets defense is going to manhandle Aiden O'Connell. I don't think any amount of rookie preparation can prepare you for what this defense does to you. I think it'll be a 14-3 game. I don't think the Raiders will score a touchdown just because I think they're going to swallow Brandon Jacobs up and make Aiden O'Connell beat him. And that's a really tall task for a rookie quarterback making his third career start.
Yeah, so you're pretty much just recommending the Raiders and the under there with your I love it with your handicap on the game. Moving on to the Monday night game, I like the Sunday game. Like it's gonna suck, but it's gonna suck in a fun way. I feel the opposite about this Denver Broncos Buffalo Bills game. The Bills I think are gonna win by a lot, kind of sloppy, and that's kind of what the over under and the spread indicate. The Bills are home. They are 7.5 point favorites at home against a Broncos team that can score points. It's just gonna be weird. It's just gonna be a weird game where the Broncos defense somehow like plays sort of well against Josh Allen, but they're gonna score 21 points in the fourth quarter or something weird like that. So I think this line's right. I think the spread's right. I like my other plays already a lot more. So I'm entirely laying off of this Monday night game. We'll probably be live streaming it here on the casting couch in Dallas, Texas. James, what do you think?
Speaking of not wanting to hear Chris Collinsworth talk, go ahead and YouTube his interview where he said 14 to 18-year-old girls are the best ones to hit on because once they turn 18, they get too dumb.
Jesus Christ.
That is an atrocious interview that exists on the internet, and I would recommend that everybody go ahead and watch that.
Please forward that to NBC. Please forward
that. It's not a good video, and it has been around there for a while. I think it was an interview. It was an interview back when he was playing at wide receiver.
That joke aged worse than his girlfriend's.
He's got the Leo DiCaprio vibes on there. This is the second half of my DGen teaser. I'm taking the Broncos plus 7.5, teasing it to 13.5. So we've got Cardinals 7.5, Broncos 13.5. Having the Bills kicker on my fantasy team, I can tell you that he has a good knack of missing extra points this year. Mm-hmm. I think this game is actually close. I have not been very excited with what I've seen out of Josh Allen recently. While the Broncos are not an amazing team, they're not atrocious when it comes to the secondary. They didn't trade away some of their better guys. So I think there might be a chance here that Broncos hold it within 10 points. So I like the 13.5.
Brilliant. And Paxton Bailey?
I've been on record to love watching Josh Allen play to the caliber of the other team, which just seems to happen all the time.
Yeah.
I feel like this would be a very likely game where that could happen. However, I'm just not going to ride those odds. I'm going to stay off this game, but I feel like this game could be a lot more fun than we think it's going to be.
Miles Francis?
I told you I was going to go a little crazy with the no-brainers. This is my fourth and my final one. Buffalo Bills, coming off of a loss to the Bengals. They're going to want to get their shit back in gear, and the Denver Broncos have proven to be a punching bag of a team for teams like this that need it. I think they're going to go in there. I think they're going to just bomb all over this Denver defense. And I kind of agree with your point, Jamie, that it is going to be sloppy as hell. The Buffalo defense has not been great. But I think it's very much going to be a high-scoring game, and it's not going to be even close. So I think the 7.5 Buffalo will easily cover.
Brilliant. And Ryan?
I also think the Buffalo Bills will cover. I do think they need to look at Ken Dorsey and maybe get rid of him as offensive coordinator. I think he's giving Josh Allen way too much, I guess, what you would call freedom to make mistakes. And I think Brian Dable did a better job of keeping him in the confines of a regular schedule. And I think that's been the biggest surprises. It's just been the, what are you doing? Like, he's just trying to win the game. I feel in this game he will play under control. I think Dalton Kincaid and Stephon will have their points. And I think also, I can't think of it. I can't think of the running back's name because he's brothers. I was like, I can't think of their last. Yeah, Cook. I think he'll have a great game. I think he's been an underrated weapon, and I think the Broncos, Josie Jewell can only cover so many people in the short middle. Outside of Josie Jewell, I think their secondary is a little suspect at times. Like, it's good, but not great. So give me the Bills.
Winning by a lot. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And that has been our gambling and Week 10 NFL preview. My name is Jamie Jakes. This has been What Are We Talking About with Jamie Jakes. Please subscribe to the channel. Leave a like. Leave a comment. We will have Mr. James speak next. He is an NFL insider. He is not a public figure. What do you got to tell him, James?
Now that hockey and college basketball season are on, I always like to plug the two guys that I like to follow for bets on those as well. BartTorvik.com for college basketball and Evolve Hockey for the NHL. Both of them put fantastic advanced analytics out there and are great people to look at if you want some fun side bets that will hopefully be profitable for the season.
Brilliant. James was recently telling me about an awesome podcast of an MLS gambling show. So he is deep in there on YouTube. So he knows all the good people and how to make a lot of money off of them. Paxton Bailey.
Find me on YouTube and Instagram at @pbailey_comedy. And I'm glad that I get to miss the Jets Raiders game because I have a show. If you're in Haltom City or near the area, come out to Haltom City Theater on Sunday. It's going to be interesting.
Sunday night in Haltom. Yeah, if you're watching from Haltom City, go ahead and watch Paxton Bailey perform comedy. Miles Francis.
You can follow me everywhere at Mr. Most Days Off. I post about all my shows and all that good stuff there.
Brilliant. And Ryan Perio.
You can find me at social media at Ryan Perio on all my social media platforms. No upcoming shows at the moment, but stay tuned.
Hell yeah. I'll book you on a shitty bar show if you'd like to come anytime. Thank you guys and good night.